BroadwayCon, please welcome to the stage from the Broadway Podcast Network, the hosts of The Fabulous Invalid, Jamie Du-Mont, Robert Russo, and Jennifer Simard.
Long walk to this microphone. Hi, BroadwayCon 2020 on the third day. Woo! Look at you all. We're so glad you're here. We're about to sit down, but we wanted you to know we're here for The Fabulous Invalid, part of the Broadway Podcast Network, and we're going to be filming our first live show with you. So you're going to be recorded live as well. So please, give us your whoops and your hollers, and we're all in this together. In a few moments, we're going to be having cast members from Hadestown join us, right?
Woo!
So without further ado, would you guys like to have a seat?
Yeah, let's start.
All right, let's go. Oh,
Okay.
My glasses on.
Everybody ready?
All right.
All right.
All right.
Welcome to The Fabulous Invalid, Broadway's podcast, where we present essential conversations with a curated roster of some of the most interesting and influential people working in the theater today, from actors to directors to designers to everyone in between. We take the name of our show from the title of a 1938 Kaufman and Hart play, which became a loving nickname for Broadway itself. Always on the verge of decline and always bouncing back, that is The Fabulous Invalid. Woo-hoo. I'm theater savant Jamie Du-Mont.
I'm writer and theater critic Rob Russo with Stage Left at NYC.
And hi, everyone. I'm Jennifer Simard, and I'm currently in rehearsals for the Broadway revival of Company.
Woo!
Yes! I'm so excited.
Well, hello, Jennifer.
Hi.
Hello, Rob. How's it going?
Wonderful. We're delighted to be here on day 3 of BroadwayCon.
I know. I had about 5 different outfits on this morning because I realized as a lady up here on the stage with all of you beneath, it's all about not showing you all my business, right? So I thought maybe I should have brought them all bells, and that every time you see Jennifer Smart's business, ding, ding.
A business bell?
A business bell. That would have been helpful. But I think I'm okay with my pencil skirt.
I didn't get
don't
the
know.
black memo, so
Yeah.
I'm in Navy.
Showbiz, come on, you got to
No.
go black.
Gotta do it.
Well, we're excited to be here for our first ever live taping of The Fabulous Invalid. And we're thrilled that we're soon going to be joined by cast members of Broadway's smash hit, Hadestown.
Yes, give it up for them.
You will be hearing from Eva Carney, Eva Noblezada, Jewelle Blackman, Yvete Gonzalez-Nacer, and Kay Trindad.
Yay. Oh, but before we do that, today is sort of a reunion for the three of us because we haven't been with Jennifer in a little while because she has been in rehearsals for Company. So Jen, tell us how that's going.
Oh, it's been a dream come true. You know, it's a wonderful cast of some of the most talented actors I've ever worked with, and we really are a company like the title suggests. You know, we're all involved in each other's scenes, and we're really passing the ball and assisting so the other cast member can dunk it. You know, there's no I in this show. It really is we, and I love that. It's a great ensemble piece.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one of the fun things about Company, and I assume everyone who's at BroadwayCon knows what Company is, right? The landmark Stephen Sondheim, George Firth musical from 1970, is that the show is structured as a series of scenes where the main character Bobby is going around, and this time it's a woman, i.e. Bobby, and meeting all of her with all of her married friends. So you are playing the role of Sarah.
Yes.
Which was originally created by Barbara Barry.
Yes.
We had on our show earlier
Incredible.
this season. And your husband, Harry, is being played by Christopher Sieber,
Yeah.
who is a longtime pal of
Yes,
yours
please.
and
Give it up.
was on Broadway last season in The Prom. What's it like now playing a married couple after being friends for so many years?
Yeah, we have been friends for 25 years, so we complete each other's sentences at this point. It's wonderful because there's so much built-in trust already, and we have a quite physical relationship in this show, which you'll hopefully come and see. And so that just makes it so easy. Although the other day he got released from rehearsal early and I had to stay, so I texted him, I want a divorce. I wasn't having that.
Extreme. All right, I have one question.
Yeah.
Lapone.
Oh, I love it.
Tell us about Patti LuPone.
I love her. Well, I knew her. I was fortunate enough to have her come see Disaster, and she sent me a video message, which I really treasure. And so at the end of it, she said to me, "Good luck in your career, Jennifer," and blew me a kiss, and now we're working together, and I can't stand it. It's so incredible. Yesterday, I forgot my lunch, and she was so kind, and she said, "Well, have some of my salad. Jennifer, do you have it? Have half of my salad." And like an idiot, I politely declined. I'm like, "Yeah, it might be my only opportunity to break lettuce with Patti LuPone." And I said no, so I've got.
I think everyone in the audience would have taken that salad. Am I
know.
correct?
Correct.
I would
And
have
I'm
had to
just
put
like,
it in
"Oh,
a
no,
glass
I couldn't
box,
possibly, you idiot."
I don't know if you guys saw this, but yesterday she did a video to introduce, or 2 days ago on Friday, she did a quick video at BroadwayCon to introduce your castmates.
Yep.
Who sang a song, and she was eating pretzels through the whole thing. And it's online, you can see it. In my opinion, so far, she won BroadwayCon.
Absolutely. You gotta stay nourished.
Well, Jamie and I are so excited to see you and your cast members in
Thanks.
company. It opens March 22nd, Stephen Sondheim's 90th birthday
Yep.
at the Bernard Jacobs Theater. If you don't have tickets yet, make sure you get tickets because this is going to be an incredible, incredible revival.
All right, but now the real reason we're here. We are here to talk about Hadestown, last season's critically acclaimed Tony Award-winning Best Musical. Yes. Woo!
Based off that response, as you all very much know, Hadestown intertwines two mythic tales, that of the young dreamers Orpheus and Eurydice, and of King Hades and his wife Persephone on a hell-raising journey to the underworld and back.
We will be joined by Orpheus and Eurydice, Reeve Carney, and Eva Noblezada in just a moment. Very exciting.
Second.
But before that, we'd like to bring out three of the other stars of the show, the Fates. So please help me and welcome Jewelle Blackman, Yvete Gonzalez-Nacer, and Kay Trindad.
Hey. Hey, ladies. Over here. Yeah. All right. Please have a seat.
Thanks, ladies.
You guys. Hello.
Alrighty. Well, the concept of the Fates is a theme that occurs across mythology throughout history and cultures, typically represented as three goddesses who are weavers of a tapestry that dictates the destinies of mortals. This concept, very obviously, is interpolated into Hadestown through your characters. I was wondering if you could share with us how Aeneas, the writer of the show, has reimagined the Fates for this musical. Whoever wants to go first.
I'll go first. How is she? Well, what has been really cool about this entire experience being in Hadestown is that we are allowed to bring a lot of ourselves to our characters. So initially when I auditioned for the role of the Fate, I necessarily did not know much about Greek mythology and who the Fates were. As I got involved with the show, I did my own research, and the Fates, we decided to name ourselves as the three Fates. There's the Fate of Death, Atropos, there's Lachesis, and there's Clotho. So one creates life, one measures life, and the other ends life, and I'm sure you can figure out who does that. And so I think as a person, me personally, I can be somewhat intense. I can be somewhat cutthroat in a nice way. So it's not very hard to play this particular character. Am I answering your question?
Sure, yeah. I mean,
Somewhat.
we're just interested in hearing about how these characters are reimagined for Hadestown. So, I mean, that's.
I like that you all named each other.
Well, in the Greek mythology, that's her names.
Oh.
Those are actual Greek. Those are actual.
Who was who?
The cool thing was when we all did our individual research and we came back to rehearsals the next day and we said, I looked up some stuff about the Fates, we did our homework, and we all agreed without discussing who we were. So
Well, that shows that you guys are
unit.
It really was fate. So, in my opinion, the Fates are kind of troublemakers, right? They're a little naughty, right? You guys are the voices in Orpheus's head. You're quite literally the thing that blows Eurydice to make the choices that she makes. However, you don't really interact with either of them. But sitting in the audience, as an audience member, it feels like all you do is interact with them. So how does that balance work? How did you work that out?
Well, actually, what you just said was another way that we're different than the original mythology, which is in the original mythology, we're these three sisters that have a string, and we measure their life, and then we cut it off. And here we are, like you said, the wind, and we're also the voices in people's heads that are able to put doubt in your head or kind of steer you in the direction that will ultimately make you make the choices to fulfill your fate. And it's kind of testament to thoughts become things, and that the power of thought, even if we're not physically touching you or you're not physically seeing us, which is weird because to the audience, of course, they're seeing three people physically touch her or be in their face. But yeah, it's powerful how much our thoughts can influence and how much we influence the gods. Like we influence Hades, we influence everyone. So
You're really you're the wheel that keeps everything going. You really are.
I don't want to brag, but like totally.
Brag.
Go ahead. Yeah. Well, Jewelle, you were just talking about how you each developed your own sort of identity, although you move as one unit. So I'm wondering if each of you could share more about what makes your fate unique.
Well, I play auxiliary percussion. I'm just joking. I just play, well, I'm not. That's a technical, it sounds very fancy, so I like to say it. But I play we all play different instruments, and so I play the tambourine, and people it's very funny. People go, what is that instrument you're playing? Like those bells? I go, they're bells on a string.
I believe they're technically called finger bells.
Finger bells.
And
the
may
auxiliary percussion instrument.
May I call you finger bells?
Absolutely. My fate name.
So which of the three are you then, in terms of the three names you gave each other?
So I'm Atropos.
I'm Lachesis.
And I'm Clotho.
So there's a bird-like quality to the fates. I mean, your costumes literally have feathers on your
I know what you're talking about.
Your turbans, right? Well, I mean, look, we've all seen the show, I assume, and the way you move is bird-like. You have the feathers. Is that deliberate? Do you have a bird thing going on?
So first of all, I have when we heard this question, I said, "Really? I see myself as death with a feather." So I'm not the only way I really see us as birds really is a kind of birds of prey. We're kind of watching and overseeing all that is going on, and we already know the outcome. That's how I kind of see us as birds.
I love birds of prey. That's really great.
Vultures, or mama bird who feeds their children what they need until, kind of leads them where they need to go, but and then...
Wow, you guys really are each your own fate. It's really, no wonder you just landed on it.
Right? Yeah.
That's fabulous.
You never stop moving, both as a unit and also around the set. And can you tell us a little bit about the process of staging the fates and how director Rachel Chavkin and choreographer David Newman went about placing your characters throughout the show?
I mean, I think the show, since it's been around for a minute, there's been a lot of incarnations of Hadestown. I think that their individual and collective vision for what they wanted for the fates and for the movement was pretty clear. And so it's kind of neat that we're on stage for most of the show. We only leave for like a couple songs. And it's kind of neat, the idea of the gods always kind of watching over these mortals and watching them make their decisions and then coming in when they want. So it seems very purposeful that we're there. And I think it's neat, too, how our movement, we're doing a lot of the same movements, but we're not identical to each other. So David was really amazing in like letting our personality and our take on the movement be able, like he left it open to interpretation, which is really nice. So you could see our personalities.
I love that moment in Songbird when each of you articulates the music, that ding, 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 and by doing a different move each time. Every time I see the show, that's like the moment I wait for. Alrighty, Jenna.
How many times have you seen the show, Rob?
That is undisclosed information. I cannot
Excellent.
share with the group.
Well, I think now would be a good time to bring out your co-stars and object of your temptation and taunting, Reeve Carney and Eva Noblezada.
Woo!
Woo! Have a seat. Join us.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey,
Thanks so much for joining us.
it's weird getting up here because from the back everything's reversed because we're sitting behind the projector. So I'm really tripped out right now that you guys aren't actually over on this side.
It's all now. It's back to the right order. Hopefully.
Fabulous. Well, we were just talking with your fates about how the roles were reimagined from Greek mythology into this show. How does Hadestown reimagine the characters of Orpheus and Eurydice from the mythology to this musical?
Well, I think Aeneas, I sort of view it in a similar. I actually don't know that I view it in a similar way to Aeneas, but whenever I'm approaching any sort of character, because I've had the opportunity to play a few characters that are not like fully human, I guess, and I guess Orpheus is maybe another one of those. But it's always my goal to bring as much humanity to each character as we can, because all of us are coming to see it, you know, these shows. And as far as I know, we don't have any Greek gods in the audience tonight, but maybe we do. Maybe this morning. But yeah, I don't know. So in that way, I guess, like what Jewelle was saying, you bring as much of yourself as you can to the character. I kind of like, and with acting in general, it's fun to be able to reveal parts of yourself behind a mask, if that makes any sense. And Orpheus, you know, being the mask for me in this case. But in that way, I think it's sort of what we bring to it, and we start with the text, but then what we bring to it as a human sort of enriches it, and I guess helps to reimagine it. I don't know if I'm rambling a little because this is a little bit early for me.
No, you're doing very well. And I have a follow-up for both of you. What was your relationship to this myth before stepping into your roles?
I knew that Orpheus played the lyre, and that Hades, I just saw Hercules, the animation. So I just saw like Hades with like a fire head. That's all I kind of knew. But I barely did research because I didn't really want to put too much pressure on myself subconsciously to try to copy or like make my character too epic, because just like Reeve said, and it was a perfect explanation, I wanted to try to bring as much humanity to Eurydice. And in the original myth, she doesn't say anything. She just kind of dies twice. So I wanted to not do that.
Not die twice.
Yeah, but at least have a say about it.
Yeah. Is that like part of your process when you approach a role? Do you like to know a little bit, not very much about it, so that you can go in fresh, or are you a researcher?
It depends. For Hadestown, I obviously wanted to know like the basis of the myth, but I didn't like watch other productions because I would never ever want to plagiarize other beautiful artistry and what the other actors had been doing for Eurydice. But obviously, like, for other roles, like if it actually happened, like Vietnam War, I will do my research.
Do you like her as a do you?
Who are you talking about?
I'm talking about Eurydice. Like, do you like your relationship to her? Because you're obviously very close to the character. But what do you feel about her? What do you think about her? Is really the question I'm asking.
I think we can all relate to every character. I think if you were to be in a different mood every day as the people here and go to see the show, you would relate to different characters if you really pinpointed their journey. Because sometimes you think, oh, this is the protagonist, this is the antagonist, these are the people that really fuel the antagonist, or these are the people that really tear down the hero of the show. We all relate to all of them in a way. For me, I relate to Eurydice quite a lot. Very grateful for Rachel and Aeneas to open the conversation and let us all kind of bring ourselves into these characters, but I think she's a fucking badass.
I'm glad you said it, because she is. You know, she makes interesting choices. Sometimes she doesn't make good choices. Sometimes she does make good choices. But that's what I like about her, is that she's a little flawed, and I love flawed. She's flawed and strong, and I think those two things are very interesting.
That's why you like me.
Yeah, that's why I love you, yeah.
Flawed and strong.
That's right.
I was at an early press event for the show, and I was struck by something that Rachel Chavkin said, which was that the whole show rhymes, and that every rhyme cost a lot. And I think what she was getting at in saying that is that, very often in a musical, the lyrics aren't poetry, but in Hadestown, they often are. And, poetry can be very terse, it can be very, awash in metaphor, and this entire show is sung, which means all you have to build your characters are those lyrics. So how did you all, I guess we can open it up to everyone, how did you go about discovering the characters, which are archetypes, and putting actual meat on the bones, using the lyrics as your only guide, and then obviously working with the creative team?
I was saying before, I think starting with the text is really important for me. I like to, and the thing about this particular piece, I found it to be quite emotional. I think most people will say this in the cast and the company, but even on the page, it was quite moving without even hearing the music, just reading the libretto. And so you definitely want to start with that. But I'm trying to think. I maybe am forgetting the last part of your question, though. How we, because I think I would be rehashing a little bit what I've said in some ways about how we bring ourselves to the character, but
No, so that was integral to the process then, is bringing what your own personality to the roles to sort of flesh them out.
I think so. I mean, one of the things that's really interesting about this piece for me too, and I think all of us relate to this because we're all on stage so much, and a lot of times we're not speaking. It feels a bit at times like in those moments that it's almost like we're in a silent film, and that's sort of the approach, because you have to do so much with just your face or your body or with wordlessness. Even though there's so much beautiful poetry, Aeneas has left so much space for the actors to do things in moments of silence, and I really love that about this piece, because you don't get that. I have not had the opportunity to be a part of something like that in the musical theater idiom until this.
What was it like when you all heard the score for the first time?
That was special. I mean, I think the 5 that came from London joined like a week later, I think, in rehearsals. And I think I was going to say this off of your last question, actually. There was a day where we all sat down and kind of read and sung through, not even like full out, but the libretto and the score. And I think our co-star, 8-foot-tall Timothy Hughes, was actually saying this the other day. Yes.
We stand.
He was saying the other day that it was really special because they had been working so much on the material so quickly that when we all sat down as a cast and read it, no one really had, I guess, considered the ending. And we had gone through this whole book of just Aeneas's prophetic poetry together and singing it and just kind of getting to know each other. And then the last page happens and everyone's just like, oh my God. But it's kind of crazy how we all had these emotional reactions, even though we were studying it and rehearsing it. And we weren't even on our feet. We were all sitting down at a table. Like, that's how poignant her writing is.
And some of the changes they made for Broadway, and some of them were made in London, but I love what they did. It's funny to say, I probably shouldn't say this, but why not? Wait For Me used to be my least favorite song on the show. It used to be.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Until there were some changes that, Aeneas made some brilliant changes that brought it into, it's kind of actually the thing I'm talking about that made the song for me is the thing that everyone sings online, that I see some of you guys doing all the Instagram videos for. That's what was added. That was the
We see it all.
that was that was never a part of the song when we were in Edmonton, when Jewelle and I were up there, and there were certain things that weren't in there. So that change and what they did then in turn with Wait For Me too, I love those changes. Were so, I mean, so those were not a part of the original score, but I love them so much, and the way the workers join in and it's so cool.
And
I love the
audience
theme,
members,
sorry.
please don't go out there and say that Reeve Carney hates Wait For Me, because he doesn't.
No, I love Wait For Me, but initially it's just a funny little story because it shows, and Aeneas is actually putting out a book about, which is chronicling all of her versions of all of these songs throughout the past 12, 13 years. And so you'll see her works in progress, which is pretty cool.
I just want to add something too about the music. Like, I did a workshop back in 2015 and then one with you in 2017. And you know right away the music's beautiful. Like, you hear it, you're like, oh, that's a great song. But there's something too now about just hearing it on its feet with like the orchestrations. And I just have to shout out to like Todd Sikafus and Michael Chorney, who are the brilliant orchestrators, and Liam Robinson, who did our vocal arrangement.
Yeah.
Because seeing that full, like having them just flesh it out into what it is real, and it's really good. It's like sometimes on stage, like you hear death in the form of a harmonic with the strings, and you're like, oh, that's perfect. Yeah. Like even now, I'm still like floored by how perfect and how thoughtful every single instrument is, you know. So
one last thing about the music itself. I hadn't heard ever a Broadway show that celebrated such different textures of voices. There's no homogeneous thing. There's zero homogeneous in Hadestown. Everybody is a unique particular person, and we're such a band of unicorns. Everybody sounds so different, and that rarely happens. So that's the first thing that grabbed me and got me, and to love this show.
And it's beautifully preserved on the cast album, which I've been diving into very deeply this past week. And you're right. And when you listen to it, you can really hear all the distinct voices on the recording and obviously in the theater. But speaking of music, most of you all play instruments in the show. As we now know, Kay plays the finger bells and the tambourine.
I also play the piano in real life.
Ah,
That also counts.
you heard it here first. So I want to ask you guys, you're not in a John Doyle production, but you're all playing instruments. What's it like doing double duty?
I mean, I play violin in the show, and I've played since I was 3. So for me, it's kind of second nature, and it's really fun to be able to incorporate that part of myself in the show. And it's really fun. I love it.
I have to say I'm impressed when you pirouette with your violin.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll be here all week.
That's a talent.
Yeah, it's great to bring all those talents to the forefront once again. When I did the Canadian production of it, I am a violinist, so I played the violin in the Canadian production. But then when Broadway came along, they said, how about you learn the accordion? And I said, how about not? So I had to, but I didn't have a choice.
And learn it you did.
And learn it.
Was it hard to learn?
Yes. The very first run through that we had, I remember in the rehearsal hall, we got through Any Way the Wind Blows, and I put the accordion down and did the rest of the run through without the accordion because it was just so much. But what's great is that you never know what you can do until you try. So you persevere and you continue and you do it.
That is a good rule of life.
Yes, yes. And Reeve, you play the guitar.
Yeah, I've been playing guitar for 25 years, and I actually went to college for guitar. I went to University of Southern California, Thornton School of Music. Any of you guys out here know? But but I went there planning on, that was my career path at the time. And but it is weird. It's difficult to act while playing guitar, especially when this other character is playing this instrument that you've played for so long. That's the part that's weird, because obviously it's not particularly complicated stuff to play. But it is weird when you have to not be thinking about that instrument at all and just be acting. That's a bit tough, I guess.
Yeah.
Did you come into the role knowing that you'd play the guitar, or was it added as part of it, or during rehearsals?
I did, yeah. I knew as soon as I got to the first workshop rehearsal. Yeah.
So there's a real range. You've been playing the guitar for 25 years. You just picked up the accordion for the show. Does this mean that your understudies also have to know these specific instruments?
Yeah.
And were they cast for that, or is it everyone's just sort of
In
learning?
their case, I think anyone in the Orpheus role, they have to.
Have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think with you guys, obviously with you, I mean, the fact that, I don't know how you learned that so quickly.
Well, and then our understudies like Kimberly and Kayla had never played an accordion before.
Right.
Or violin.
Or violin. So it's, yeah.
Is there like a Broadway accordion teacher out there somewhere teaching accordion
Crash course in accordion. Yeah.
all the?
Instagram, the Broadway accordion teacher.
Oh, follow that.
Now, you're 9 months into this smash run, right? Really, congratulations. Can you educate our listeners a little bit about what changes 9 months in your opinion?
I feel like Hadestown's a fine wine.
Yeah, I agree.
Like we obviously like opened right on top of Tony season, and we were all kind of knackered, but also like we're trying our best to like keep the family vibe in the building. But it's obviously like a very emotional piece, and it wears out our bodies and wears out our voices, but we have the best time. But I think as time went on, where we didn't really have the pressure to be on outside of the show, if that makes sense, we really were able to sit back and go, cool, I can try this, I can do this. Actually, it's funny, I've been doing the show for so long, and now like this one line makes more sense. Like I feel like we all kind of like sat back and relaxed into the show, and now it's.
Well, that's interesting that now that you've been doing it for so long, you're discovering new things about particular lines that you read. That's fascinating. Have you found that throughout your performance things are changing because of that?
I think you find yourself getting closer and closer to the truth. That's what I think about. I felt that in other projects too, but especially in this project. because there's so much room with all of the metaphor to, there's so much that you can work with, and you have a great opportunity but a great responsibility at the same time. And also, how many of you guys have seen Hadestown? Well, to be honest, we learned so much from you guys, really. And that's part of what it is about being in such a long run. We feel more than in shows I've been a part of before, and even in previous versions. The audience here on Broadway and the Walter Kerr Theater, we really feel you guys. It's pretty incredible. So it feels like it's one unit, and it's not so much us performing for you. So I think that has to do with it. That sort of is why we still are learning things, because every audience is different.
And part of that is the long run, but also the intimacy of the theater, I think, would help with feeling connected to the audience, correct?
Definitely. And something, I don't know, there's something about this show too that I feel, I don't know what it is, but you can feel, you can almost see the energy between in the negative space. It's pretty cool.
I think the quiet you were saying before, like the open space that the music provides and the text provides, and sometimes the fact that there's 2 bars of music where people are just being human on stage. That's an opportunity for stage and audience to truly connect. It's even though the stage is higher, we're still in this together. I don't know. It's we're on this journey with you from the very beginning. That's why the legendary Andre de Shields comes out and really has that moment of connection with, okay, well, yeah, exactly. He has that moment of we're on this together, looking everybody in the eye, which I think is very special.
He does truly set the tone for the show.
Yes.
Right? He comes out, he commands that stage like no other human being can, and then I think that's very important to help guide everybody along, take everyone along on the journey.
What I said in my review was, when you need a god, just hire a god to play a god.
Right.
Well said.
With Andre de Shields.
He truly owns his own divinity. That's what Amber Gray says about Andre de Shields.
Yeah, I love that. I have a question about teching the show, because it's a very technical show. Those of you, Jennifer, you've been through the tech process many times. It's arduous, right? It's a hard thing. But specifically, you have a double turnstile. Is that the right way to describe it? It goes.
Turntable, yeah.
Yeah, it goes in. You have 2 alternating tracks.
Almost
correct?
triple, because there's a center ring as well.
Right, which is the elevator. Yeah. So I guess my question.
Also turns.
Yeah.
Right, so it's 3. All right. So it's 3 turntables that turn either in the same or opposite or conflicting directions. What is that like to learn how to be on?
You said conflicting, so.
I answered my own question.
There you go.
Excellent.
We had the chance in. Oh, sorry. What was
No. Good.
We were fortunate that we had the chance in London. It was pretty amazing. We worked at the Royal National Theatre, which is an incredible institution in London, and they take such good care of you. We had the entire set, a version of our set with the actual turntables throughout our entire 6-week rehearsal process. So we had the chance to really learn the turntables. When we got to Broadway, these guys only had 2 weeks, or we had
A week and a half.
We only had a week and a half in tech, something crazy. But the one thing that did change for us, but you guys should talk more on it because it was more difficult for you guys because of that. But the set did shrink from London, so the London people did have to get used to it being about 3/4 the size. That made it a bit harder because you don't want to be looking down at your feet too much, but you have a pretty narrow path to walk.
It's kind of daunting when you first start. You have to walk onto them a certain way. You have to exit them a certain way. You have to make sure it does not tackle you, that you are the boss of them. But they were troublemakers until we whipped them into shape.
I feel like if I had to do my job on one of those airport mover things, I would not be able to do my job. So I don't know how you guys do it.
At least that's straight.
Yeah, that's true.
There's not fog that obstructing your
Exactly.
And no lights.
Yeah, no lights. The lights in your face are hard. Yeah, that's a real thing.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, since this is BroadwayCon after all, and it's all about fans and stans, we're going to take some questions now from the diehard Hadestown fan base. So earlier this week, we solicited questions on Twitter and Instagram. We got like a million responses. Jamie and I spent hours pouring through.
Hours.
And we collected our favorites. So we thought it'd be fun to run through some of them with all of you. Some of them are quick questions. Some of them might be a little longer. I will kick us off with, I think, a pretty easy one. At Julie's Rod Private on Instagram writes, what type of flower is the Hadestown flower?
I can hear the audience whispering the answer.
Yeah, should we say? Or
Yeah, go for it.
say?
You say
It's a
it.
carnation.
There you go.
Did you all get your flowers? Did everyone get flowers out there? Oh, there you are. Hi.
And it's interesting, Reeve, a lot of people were asking the question, whose hand is in the logo? They were like obsessed with it. Is it your hand?
No, everyone asked me if it's mine. As far as I wasn't really sure. I don't think it's mine, but I can tell by the fingernails it's not mine when I look closely.
There you go. Okay, so pressing question has been answered. It's not Reeve's hand.
So Orpheus has a third hand we don't know about.
I don't know if it was supposed to be Orpheus's hand. That's the thing I'm not really clear on. Maybe he does.
Well, actually, it could be Hades' hand, right? You both have the flower trick.
Yeah.
Oh, we're getting to the bottom of it now, folks.
Okay. Well, that's a mystery we'll have to explain another day.
Okay, this one is me. So Haley St. James from Twitter asks, you guys have been on Broadway for nearly a year now. What's the craziest part of the run so far?
Oh, there were probably some good ones.
Wait, what does this mean? Because the first thing I think of is like things that go wrong on stage that are very exciting.
Well,
Please dish.
would anyone like to hear one of those stories?
Okay, don't yell at us though. I'm scared. No, joking. I'm trying to think. There's so many good ones.
Oh, come on.
I mean, in a preview one time, Andre the Shield, his like feathers caught on fire, and he was like in way down Hadestown holding his umbrella, and that's when the fates are like staged right or whatever. So I happened to be there, and I'm like, oh, it's kind of growing. So I got up on stage and I did that.
She jumped up there. She was like,
And I took it out with my hand, y'all.
"Dad."
Woo! That was crazy. And now he calls me his guardian angel. When like he'll introduce me to people, he's like, "This is my guardian angel." Like straight up. It's really cute.
It's like a
Thank you for saving his life.
She saw it. We have a witness.
All right.
There was one time they revolved in it. Sorry, no spoil. I mean, you know what happens. But there was only one time this happened in previews when at the very end, the freaking middle turntable did not go down. Who was there?
have another
How many
segment.
times? Is this the same person? Okay.
Well, actually, didn't even stay. It was in the air still, and the fates were still up on the platform.
But-
you guys were up, and you had to figure out a way to get down.
It was so awkward because obviously, like, where am I supposed to go? So I was just like, it's me, it's me. That was funny.
For your listeners at home, she just did an amazing small shuffle backward.
Chasse off stage.
A sensible chasse.
All right, any other horror stories? There have to be
before we move
some.
on.
Tony Day, we were very tired yet very excited, and I walked on with the guitar and fell on the turntables. And you
That was
fell
bad.
Nicely, like I literally can I do that?
Please do it for us.
But I saved the
Oh,
guitar,
that's right.
and I have a scar to prove it.
Oh. All right.
That's it.
I was so scared. I thought you fell down the stairs. It was really loud.
It was so, but she really did, guys, like, keep it above her head.
Nice little fall pose.
Guitar.
You're putting out fires. You're saving the guitar. And the fates are really
Hope someone got a picture
saving
of
the
that.
day.
Did anyone hope so?
Did the audience like acknowledge your falling, or did they think it was part of the show?
I don't remember anything but just keep the guitar in the air.
Yeah, you did. Amazing.
Save the guitar.
Still in tune?
All right, this is officially my favorite segment of this last hour. Are we safe to move on, or any more? Okay. If you
Well,
think
there's
of-
the one time that
Okay.
I'll just put this in. So the song "Nothing Changes" that the Fates sing. Early on in previews, Andre the Shield used to give us our note with the pitch pipe. It's taped at a particular note, an A flat, so we can't go wrong. But somehow he played the wrong note. So, the Fates did what we do, our own thing. I decided to sing it in the note that he gave. Yvette decided to sing it in the original key.
And I sing the middle part, so I was like,
She didn't sing.
But we found our way, and then Liam, our pianist.
Eventually, we got back on track, thanks to Liam coming in, but not after the first 8 bars going by in not any particular key. It was-
Tell him though what Andre said during rehearsals.
Oh, he would joke all the time that he's going to give us the wrong note. And he did it.
He did.
And he did.
Well, and you still put out the fire on his arm, even after all of that.
Love Andre.
All right, well, let's move on to Gabby18. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. There's only one B. It might be Gaby18, but I'm going to go with Gabby. Gabby18 on Instagram writes, what does Reeve really write in Orpheus's notepad?
Well, I don't know if I should reveal exactly what it is, only because here I'll tell you some of it. But you know, they're actually for charity. The Broadway flea market, they sell the notebooks. So if you guys ever want one, you can really find out what I read. But I mean, I'll say this, that I never like to do anything on stage. If I am visible to you guys, I do my absolute best to have no thoughts that Orpheus would not have. So anything in that book is something that Orpheus would be thinking rather than Reeve, you know? So that's what I'll say about that.
What does Orpheus think, Reeve?
Well, you know, that's another, some of those are secrets too.
Those are private thoughts,
You
right?
know, but you know
All
what I
right,
mean.
Well,
like,
I
yeah,
tried.
we take our job seriously though. You know, we want to make sure that it's, I mean, as soon as I'm off stage, I'm Reeve again. But when we're on stage, we are these.
You're pure.
Yeah.
It's pure. Okay, that's nice.
Alrighty. Well, I'm gonna say this wrong, but Elefthera Czar on Instagram writes, favorite Greek god. Ooh.
Controversial.
Go down the line. Everyone can share.
Is there a god of food? That would be mine.
Ina Garten.
Dionysus. Dionysus.
I don't know that I don't really have an answer for that because I don't know enough about all of them to. I feel like I might not pick my actual favorite if I were to say something. If I were to research all of them, I'm really not sure.
Okay, well, let's move on. We,
But maybe you guys have answers. Okay.
anybody
I
have?
thought Athena was cool because she's like a warrior and a hunter.
Yeah.
Wow, we have Athena fans.
Yeah.
Athena the musical. coming
We love a powerful woman.
Yes. Totally.
All right, so we have an Instagram question, and that. Oh no, wait, you just asked that one.
just asked that
Oh no, this is an Instagram question. I'm not wrong. Ms. Daisy. Mr. Basil wants to know when you knew that the show would be huge. What was that moment?
I know when I was in Canada, actually 2018, I knew that this show was special. I knew that it was going to go somewhere because it was so different and was in its own, like there was nothing, it was so original and moving all at the same time. Yeah, so I knew from then that something was going to happen with the show.
I knew from a workshop actually when I got to hear the trombone riff at the beginning, which it was different thing because the order. But yeah, right, the trombone. But but I was like, man, that's so different. You don't hear that kind of sound on Broadway, and I think anytime something is like a new offering on stage, you know, like that, it's like it's gonna be special, you know.
I always love the show, and you always are very hopeful. Well, you're not always. It's good to be hopeful, I think. But I think for me there were many stages. But when Eva and I did this workshop, maybe it was March of 2018. I think March of 2018, there were some changes made that I said, oh, this is getting exciting. But that's back when Orpheus used to be. I don't know if any of you got to see it in London or off Broadway. But it was a different character, like a quite different character that we were playing, and but I was excited by that. I mean, he used to be much more of like a tough. I always think he was a bit like Patrick Swayze in Roadhouse. I don't know if you've seen that movie, but Orpheus used to be kind of like that, and but I liked the changes to the book that were made in that workshop in March of 2018. But then again on Broadway, it was completely flipped because we arrived from London after having played it that way for so long. And they said, oh, now Orpheus is going to be delicate and naive and vulnerable. And I was like, oh, okay. So, but I think that was that. I'm so glad that that's the way it is because I enjoy playing it this way so much more than I did the other way.
Well, here's a fun question. At eKarma Abigail on Twitter writes, if you could play any other character from the show, who would it be and why? Yeah.
Hades.
I would love to see that.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know, but Hermes would be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Just don't catch on fire.
Exactly.
I mean, Hades used to be my answer too, just because I love his emotional arc. The way he like transforms is kind of amazing.
For Stephanie.
I'd probably say Hermes too.
Yeah.
A lot of Hermes love. Okay. I cannot read this person's name, so I apologize. But their question was, what goes on back? What is that?
What goes on back? 1,000 lives
all the
read.
sorry, all 1,000 lives read on Instagram writes what goes on backstage during intermission.
You don't want to know.
You know, too much.
Oh,
too much.
we do. I just struggled with that name. Give me
It's
something.
fun. We have fun. We have to have fun because it's so hard.
Do you rest though?
Rest?
Just intermission, you mean? During intermission?
What is that?
Just intermission. Yeah. What's rest?
Oh, well, there's not. We don't have that much. I mean, most of us have to change costumes, and then I eat an RX bar usually, and
Secrets.
I drink
here.
about 60 ounces of water per act, like before the act.
Do you have water bottles placed backstage or?
But we don't get to leave stage really, so we have to drink it all like the military. We have to go like before you go into the desert kind of thing. It's like,
Like a camel.
yeah.
Has
Learn
anyone
that
ever
from
have
watching
to drink
Jarhead. I
after
don't-
the
I
first
don't know.
number.
I want to know.
What?
Anyone
And
peed
hope you
their
don't have to
pants?
pee after the first number.
Sometimes we
thought we
have
have
to
to
really
pee.
bad. Like there's actually one of my favorite parts of the show, which is actually kind of sad because I don't get to see anybody because my dressing room is like at the freaking roof of the theater, and I'm all by myself, and I'm right by the bathroom. But my favorite part of the show is before sometimes because I get to see the fates, and we're always like waiting. There's 2 bathrooms downstairs, and everyone's like using the bathroom. So it's like our time to like go to the bathroom and be like, "Hey, good to see you," like make a joke. But that's the only time I get to see them backstage. Bathroom time.
Grace Nat on Instagram asks, what message do you hope audiences get from your show?
Hope. I mean, I think you have to really, you have to realize. People often ask me what. Have you all seen the show, or some of you haven't? Well, I'll just say. They ask why at the end. Why do you do this? And I tell them sort of so you don't have to. I mean, that's the way I feel about it. We don't have to do that. We really don't. I truly believe that. So I think that's, for me, that's one of the, there's so many messages, but me speaking as, you know, the person who plays Orpheus, I think that's the main takeaway for me, that you have the opportunity to learn from the so-called mistakes of others or even your own. And I think it's really important to remember that and not to lose sight of the fact that there is still a chance to get to the place that you once dreamed you could eventually reach.
I mean, there's a couple of things that stick out to me as far as the message, if you will. One is that negative forces, even if they're just in our own heads, are very real, and to not give power to that, because that will affect your fate, you know? And then the other thing, too, is that even if you're just, like, whatever your current circumstances are, that every single person has the ability to create change, just the way Orpheus did, even though it didn't necessarily work out, you know, maybe in the way he wanted, but he was still able to do kind of a really big thing, so that that always, like, sticks with me. It's like, it's okay, just keep doing what you want to do, and you could help make the world you want to see, you know, the world you dream about.
I love that. That's very true.
Oh, go ahead.
You want another question?
Yeah,
Another
why not?
question? All right.
A real quick one, and this is kind of a funny one, but at our brother of the underground, appropriately enough, on Instagram, writes, "What you gonna do when the chips are down?"
Oh,
Eva made a video.
they're delicious. You're still gonna eat them.
Fabulous. Okay, well, maybe one last question, because I don't think there's a real answer to that question. Is Lauren Prescott on Instagram asked, what's been the most rewarding part of being able to take this production to Broadway?
It's so fulfilling, and to be able to create work that you love and to call it work, and the people you work with, it's just very fulfilling to be able to form this family and tell such a story that's moving to both the audience and us at the same time. It's very transformative. Every performance, there's something I could take away from. I'm sure the audience takes away from, and it's just very beautiful to know that we can all share that all at the same time and walk away with something powerful.
For me, this is my Broadway debut, so the fact that came to Broadway, like seriously, this was something in the works going on because I'd been trying to get here for many years from Canada, and then I stopped after I had my child. And this story came along at the perfect timing, and the fact that it was also my son's first Broadway show is also special. So it's just all the things.
Great. Well, we have one final question that we ask everyone that comes on our show. And I would also encourage the audience to check out our show. We're available on iTunes and Spotify and wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also check out our social media at Fabulous Invalid. And we have a website as well, thefabulousinvalid.com, where you can also go to listen to our episodes. However, I think we're at 60-something episodes, and we've asked every single person that's come on our show this question. Jewelle, we'll start with you. And the question is, what was that thing or experience that made you want to work in the theater?
Oh, I saw The Lion King. Lion King was it for me.
Excellent.
Yes. Answer.
Okay.
I don't even know. Being able to connect and make people laugh and feel something.
Excellent.
I can't remember what came first. I think I used to write plays for my sisters to be in, and we would like do these performances, not really knowing, oh, that's called theater. And so we would just do these shows. And then I saw Phantom of the Opera when it came by. I grew up in Miami, and I was like, this is amazing. This is so magical. So that kind of did it for me.
Which I believe Phantom of the Opera celebrates an anniversary today. Is that
Today?
correct? 32 years on Broadway?
That's right.
So, yeah, Phantom.
Love for Phantom.
Some love for Phantom. Rob and I just saw it recently, and
Yeah.
it's in great shape.
That
Go.
chandelier is still thrilling. I can report.
Yeah, it still falls.
Gosh. Yeah, it's still false. Spoiler alert.
Eva, what was the show or experience that made you want to work in the theater?
I actually wanted to be an opera singer first, and the first thing I saw was Phantom, like ever. When I was like, it was like a clip, and then I got the movie, and then I remember like putting like a blanket on my shoulders and singing "Wishing You Were Someone Here Again." And then my mom once had a migraine, and she opened the door, and she was like, "Shut up!" But the first theater experience I actually saw that I cried, I was 9 years old, was Lion King.
The first musical I ever saw, and it was on Broadway, it was Cats in 1987. Woo! And so I think that has to do with some of the fabric of what's, why I wanted to do this. But I think another big part of it, because I initially thought I'd be a musician and an actor as well, but I didn't ever think of combining them because I did a little bit of both as a kid, but not musical theater necessarily, or definitely I hadn't done musical theater at that point. Actually, no, I was in South Pacific when I was 10, so actually I did do that, but that was like at school. But I think one of the big things was I had the chance to go to an incredible performing arts academy called the Hamilton Academy of Music in Los Angeles. You guys heard of that? It's now called AMPA, Academy of Music Performing Arts. I think because Hamilton the musical is so popular, they couldn't be Googled anymore, so they changed it. But honestly, I think this is maybe the moment for me. I was going into the 9th grade, and this school would put on, in the 90s, it was putting on like $100,000 productions because they had an incredible group of people that would donate money, and they really believed in these kids. And so there was a production of Guys and Dolls in 1997 at my high school that I was entering that next year, and it blew me away seeing the passion of these kids that were so talented, and it was as good as anything that I had seen in a professional realm. And so that might have been it for me, seeing Guys and Dolls at my high school.
Support arts in the schools.
Yes.
If that isn't a clear example, right then and there, let's support art in the schools. Look, I lied. We have time for one more question. So I'll start with you, Reef, and I'm going to ask everybody this. What do you guys do after the show to relax?
Uber Eats. Because you know what? It's like when you're putting a lot of energy forth. I love cooking, but after the show, I'm pretty tired. And I'm not tired in a bad way, but I don't really necessarily want to cook, so do a lot of that. And so I've been watching Stranger Things. Yeah, it's awesome. I'm like halfway through season 2, so that's been cool.
Eva, what do you do to relax?
I was gonna say Uber Eats.
All right,
Because
well.
It's just like, this is tiring, man. I don't want to cook. I've already watched Stranger Things. I love Stranger Things. But I just finished Bates Motel.
Ooh, that's
And
good.
that really messed me up.
Yeah, that's good. It doesn't end well. No. Not spoiler alert. All right. Yvette.
Binge watch a show as well. I just finished You. Have y'all seen?
Ooh.
It's so good.
It's creepy.
So creepy.
It's way creepy.
And I'm like, why am I fascinated by watching this like psychopath killer who's like really charming? Like, what does this say about our society that we want to watch this? But
It's a different podcast.
that being said, I saw every episode and it's really fun actually now to like be in a schedule where you do have time to like I would never binge watch shows before and now I can. So I'm like, next.
Thank God for Netflix. Kay, what do you do to relax?
Yes, so I get home and the first thing I get to do is see my amazing husband and my 2 pups. So we take them for their last outing of the evening, and then we do Seamless, not Uber Eats.
Ooh.
Seamless 2.
I feel a fight brewing.
That's right.
Does anybody do try caviar?
What?
No, does
Haven't tried
anybody
it.
try caviar?
Oh, it's good.
Oh, it's like fancy seamless. You can get
You fancy. That's
you can get like any restaurant practically in New York. It's a little more expensive. There's a service fee, but if you're craving something that's outside of your range, try caviar.
Well, Uber Eats has coupons.
All right.
mic drop.
So does Seamless.
Oh.
I feel like we all need to move back.
You're about to start snapping, you know?
It takes me a while to get home. I sleep on my 40-minute commute to Brooklyn, and then I sleep some more. I go straight to bed when I get home. I'm tired.
So what we've learned is sleep and eat. Just good.
There you go.
You all work very, very hard, 8 shows a week, and you deserve to binge watch, sleep, and eat. Well, thank you so much for coming on our show.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, we're done.
Alrighty.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Much
Great
BroadwayCon.
audience for having